Hi there, my name is Nathan, and this is The Human Experience. And today I'm going to talk about my fundamentals for a steadier life. Now, life can be challenging at times. There's a lot of trials and tribulations, and there's things that you go through that set you back, can make you feel like you don't want to keep trying anymore or get you really down. But I think the trick I've found is that when I've had these basic fundamentals, they've been really helpful to me, and they've helped me navigate this roller coaster of a life. Like I say, with me being in my late 30s, there's a lot of life experiences that you go through. You also get to know yourself better. You get to know how to deal with things through experience, and you go through a lot. That's just the nature of time, yeah? Things will happen, and you have to adapt, and you have to find a way. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. Firstly, I'd like to go through some of my trials and tribulations to give you a better understanding of the things that you can go through that set you back. One of the earliest ones for me was, when I look back, is going through college. I did my A-levels, and I didn't get the grades that I wanted, and that meant that I kind of didn't consider going to university because there was that hurdle of me having to retake exams and get the grades that I needed to get on the courses that I could potentially go on to. And with the grades I got, which, thinking back now, I tried to block them out of my mind, but I think I got 2 D's and an E. And they were in geography, psychology, and media studies. I really enjoyed media studies, so that disappointed me that I got a D. Geography as well, I really liked that, and I got a D in that. And the last one, psychology, that I didn't really enjoy at the time, the way the course was, the way the teaching was. But I do enjoy aspects of it now. I understand later on in life. Like, I like the concepts and the things that psychology has brought to our understanding of humans, basically, and behavior and stuff like that. So, yeah, I got an E in that, so I wasn't happy with that. And that meant that I kind of just put university as a something that wasn't going to happen for me. On top of that, there was the whole, I wanted to get into the world of work and support myself. And, coming from a single parent background, working class, you could say, but like, again, single parent, there is a struggle there financially. So that's always in your back of your mind, that you want to make some money. And going uni, it doesn't seem viable always. I think it could have been. It would have been an effort, obviously, but I could have had part-time work and done that. But that was one of my tribulations, you could say, at the time. And moving on from that college, then obviously I moved on to the world of work. So that brought up other disappointments, you could say. And that was that you're applying for jobs and you're not getting jobs. You're going to interviews and you're not getting the jobs. And that can be really frustrating. Now looking back, I just think, like, whatever jobs came to me, and whatever jobs I didn't get. It was like, on the day, you do your best, and if it's not enough, it's not enough. But that's easier said after than at the time, when there's a disappointment of, oh, we're not willing to take this application any further, or we've got another candidate that we've chosen. Yeah, it's something that it doesn't make you feel great about yourself. So that was something that was really tough. I do remember quite a funny one where I applied for an energy company, and it was to be one of their engineers, and it was like a trainee position, apprenticeship position. So you didn't need any experience, but I really wanted to do a hands-on job, but I didn't have any experience. So I thought, this is a perfect opportunity. But in the interview process and the application process, you had to go to their offices for a day, and you had to sit and do like a practical exam. And one of them, it was to try and, I think, kind of crimp and bend these wires in a certain position. But with the tools I was given, I ended up cutting the wire in order to make it make this shape. And obviously it wasn't a full circuit, so it just didn't make sense at all. And I remember even at the time looking at the person who was, like, you know, observing the exam at that time, the practical exam, and they must have been thinking, oh my god, this guy, he's wasted his time completely. But like, obviously there was other guys in there that was probably smashing it, and like, you know, it was like, okay, we're going to pick these obviously anyway because they have some level of understanding or whatever of this task. So yeah, that was really disappointing, but it also pushed me to think, like, maybe that's not the area for me. So in a way, it was like I had to take a positive from it, like maybe I need a new direction, and I definitely took a different direction in my career after that. But yeah, that's one of the tribulations. Sorry. Then going to more personal ones, obviously throughout, you know, my 20s, I had a number of major losses within my family. So I lost my grandma, and that was really tough. Not just seeing my grandma suffering and declining, but also seeing my mum suffer and feel that pain of losing a parent. And, you know, yeah, it's something that, me being her child, it was like difficult because you don't always see your parents in that vulnerable state. And there's actually a rapper called Bashi that brought out a recent album, and he talks about this, of seeing his dad cry for like the first time he can remember, kind of thing, and that was losing his mum, I believe. And yeah, like how it hit him and how he was thinking ahead to the cycle of one day he will see his father die and his children will see the pain in him, and that it will kind of repeat a cycle of loss. But obviously there's that side of it, and also the renewal of life, of like having grandkids and having kids yourself. That's the cycle of life, isn't it? The older generation pass and the new generation come into being. So it's I don't know, I was going to say necessary evil, but it's not an evil, is it? It's just a process, necessary process, yeah. So yeah, they were tough. Like I say, my dad as well, like it's hard on so many levels because it's a part of you. It's someone you've always known of. Like I say, I didn't have my dad around as such, but it's someone you've always, as long as you've been alive, they've been around. And for you to lose them, it's a major change. You know what I mean? It's like a void in your life. And like I say, a part of you, because they created you and now you live because of them. And yeah, they're no longer here, no longer there to form more of a relationship with, or a bond, or communicate with. So that they were tough instances. And then obviously on top of that, throughout my 20s and 30s and stuff like that, I've had, you know, a handful of relationships, and that meant, again, that thing of building up a relationship for it to then, in a sense, you know, the way society might view it, to fail, you know, for you to separate and split. And I don't think I ever personally seen it as that. I just seen it as, sometimes if you're not getting along with someone and it's not benefiting you both in terms of your love for each other, and you know the feelings and emotions are not being reciprocated, and you're not supporting each other like you should, and you're just not generally getting on or having a good time, then sometimes that's the time to part ways. And it's definitely not easy. You know, there's heartbreak there, there's confusion, there's, you know, a pain inside again. But you know, once you come out of it and you maybe look at it from the outside, you can see with time that maybe that was the best thing to happen. Because I always joke sometimes with my friends or with people I'm talking to that there's a thin line between love and hate. And, you know, we can all go into a relationship with this kind of lovey-dovey kind of feeling and this elation or whatever you want to say, but ultimately it's your compatibility and how you stand the test of time together through some of these trials and tribulations I'm talking about. When you're not having the best times, like, how do you get on? How do you resolve things between yourselves and within the dynamics of just living, working, and life in general? So yeah, it's definitely not easy, and them losses, like I say, can be really hard. As well as like personal relationships, there's also like the loss of friends, but not necessarily because they've passed away or something's happened, but just distance, becoming distant from your friends from my childhood. That was something as well, because that they're kind of part of your identity, isn't it? They're someone that you've grew up with, you have memories with, you have shared certain moments with, and when they become distant or you lose that connection, it's kind of like, you could see it as like a shedding process, that you're growing into something else and becoming a mature adult, and it's just part of the process. But also sometimes it's like, it's just the way life pans out. You go in different directions, there's maybe physical distance, that you've moved to separate places. Like I say, it's different to that world of growing up and being in the education with the schools, and you're just thrown together, and you're together, you're in a certain class together, and then you form a friendship. And then when you go into the more wider world of higher education or jobs, you become separated. So it's not always by choice or necessarily a conscious thing, but they're all, things that you have to deal with. And that's why I wanted to talk about them, to see how hard hitting life can be, how you have to really adapt, transform, assess, evaluate, pick yourself up sometimes. And like I say, these are the things now, what I want to talk about are my fundamentals for living a steadier life, even though this life is like a roller coaster full of ups and downs. These are the things that have kept me grounded, kept me humble, kept me engaged with life, kept me excited and wanting to live, basically. Because sometimes, we don't always feel that way. Starting off with connections, really, friendships. Like, I've got some really long-term friendships, some best friends as they're called, and we have been through lots together, and we have always supported each other. And what I find with, when you have a best friend sort of thing, and a long-term friend, whatever you want to call them, it's that you're there for each other no matter what. Like, whether I had got good exam results or not, whether I got the job I wanted or not, my friends were always there, and I was always there for them. Even when it come to finances, if someone was, struggling, it wasn't like, oh, you're not my friend anymore because you're not doing well and you're not killing it in life, which is just ridiculous when you see some of these posts, or I don't know, just whatever it is online. Like, you just, you should be only around people that are influential and positive and uplifting. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like, your friends are not uplifting all the time. And that goes on to relationships. Like, you don't just end a friendship or a relationship with a partner because they're not up, or they're not positive, or they're not being a good thing in your life. Like, you have to be loyal, you have to stand by people, and that happens within family as well. People will test you, and you might not like them sometimes, but you must resolve things. That's part of life. Like, having too much pride, being too stubborn, letting your ego take over, it's not a good look. It's just not a good look. So it takes time to learn them things. When you're young, as a teen, you probably feel a bit more vulnerable and a bit more finding yourself, so you're not as willing to tolerate them things, or you're not in a place to tolerate them things because you're unsure yourself of where you're at. But you must find a way to not just get along, but to tolerate and to understand. I think that's the most important thing, because so many things I can look back with friendships or with relationships that it came down to communication, like miscommunication, and the fact that things are said and people misinterpret it, and then things get blown out of proportion, and it isn't necessarily what you said is not what you meant, and vice versa from the other person. And yeah, then you think in the end, like, either why did we argue or why did we fall out? It was not over anything majorly important. It was just a small disagreement or a difference in thinking. So yeah, these bonds are really important. You know, these social bonds, they're really important. They are a key fundamental. So hold on to friendships, create new friendships. Another thing I would say for myself is, and this is maybe unconscious or part of my makeup of being open to certain things, is I'll have such a diverse range of friends in terms of ethnicities and backgrounds, like friends that are Indian, that are Chinese, that are Romanian. It doesn't really matter. And it shouldn't matter. And I'm not saying, you know, I have English friends as well, so it's fine, or people that are born and bred in Britain. But it's just nice to do that sometimes, because I've had certain experiences through being around them people. So, you know, there's certain events that I've been to that are cultural events that I wouldn't have gone to by myself. Like, I've only gone to them because of my friends' diverse backgrounds and the fact that they were open to showing me that, and I was open to experiencing them and seeing them. So that's really important as well, holding on to your friendships and being open to meeting new people, because, you know, you're never too old to have a new friend. Yeah, you know, as well as friendships and that, obviously I touched on there, family is also a big thing, where it works two ways for me. I think you have to engage with your family when it's not always easy and you might not see eye to eye, but you also have to, sometimes in my experiences, you need a distance from certain family members sometimes for your own kind of independence, for your own, like, kind of finding yourself, whether that's your parents, whether that's siblings, cousins, whoever it is. Sometimes you need to be away from your family, but you're there for them. Do you know what I mean? Always, I think, know that you're there for each other, but being sometimes distant, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, because you're always going to be family, right? You're always going to be there for each other. So having that distance, but knowing that you're still connected, is fine. And yes, if you get on like best friends within, you know, certain members of your family, then that's great as well, having a great connection. But, you know, one thing I'll always say for why you can't always judge how you are within your family is that you didn't choose your family. Yeah, as they say, your family chose you. And that brings up a whole new dynamic, because generally friends, you met them through a certain circumstances and you had something in common, or you built up a bond from something that was going on, whether you're just in the same place at the same time or whatever it was. Something happened and you became friends. With family, as you grow up, you're just introduced to them, and you know, you don't necessarily have that initial interaction yourself. It's just someone that is thrust upon you, and you're, oh, these are my cousin. Oh, for me it was like, these are my half brothers and sisters that I just regard as brothers and sisters, but that's their label, that's what's used in society, like, because we have different mums, sorry. That brings up its whole different problems in terms of, you know, your connection and where you fit in. Yeah, it's not easy to navigate them relationships sometimes. But yeah, be kind to yourself, be kind to them, to give it time to develop. Another one for me is having good personal relationships. So with your partners, being in a genuine connection, which is not always easy nowadays, I know that, but for me, I've always tried to, this is just my kind of outlook on relationships, is like, I've always tried to steer away from drama. You know, if you think someone's not good for you, or there's initial kind of bad feeling and your intuition is saying this is not right, then I know sometimes we can all fall for that kind of, you know, pursuing something that's not good for us. But yeah, maybe more I've had like them kind of connections where it's a mutual thing, you know, as well, where the love for each other is being reciprocated, that thing of no one's taking advantage of someone else. I've always tried to be genuine from my side anyway, and I always find for me that's always done good by me, to be genuine and therefore have genuine relationships. It's always been something that has created a good environment, a nice place to be in. And yeah, even a thing that I've always tried as well, which, when relationships have come to an end, I always try and stay on good terms. Not that I feel like things can't happen where that can't happen, sort of thing. People manipulate people or abuse people and stuff like that. I get that. There's such a variety of things going on in a relationship, but something that you can look back on and be like, you gave it your all, you gave it your best. Whether it works out or not, it's like, just be genuine with that person. That's what I've always thought was best, and try not to treat someone else how you want to be treated. That's a simple principle. Otherwise, it creates heartache, it creates anger, it creates resentment, and all these kind of emotions. So yeah, I try and keep it as compassionate and as loving as you can, and just be a support for each other and be there. So yeah, that's definitely held into my current relationship of me and my partner becoming parents. Them fundamentals of our relationship of being supportive, of being there for each other, have really held us strong through the hard times, and then just to enjoy the good times even more. It's a collaboration. You're working together in a relationship, and yeah, there's going to be things that you do and your partner does that you don't like, but you have to work through them things, maybe communicate them things, and yeah, sometimes that's just the way they are, and that if you don't like it, it's something that you need to deal with. As long as it's not something that affects you, allow them to navigate their life, and maybe they will change anyway once they understand themselves better. And we all have things, imperfections. So yeah, definitely with relationships, see it as gaining a better understanding of yourself and someone else, and just going with the flow of things, and not judging yourself or other people too quickly or too harshly, because we all make mistakes. We all do things that we don't fully agree with later on or regret later on. So yeah, give people time to develop and be who they need to be. So yeah, for me, I just want to touch on some practical elements that have kept me on a steady path as such. And one fundamental for me is sports. Sports for me has again been on its own kind of journey of what it's meant to me. Initially, for me, my main sport that I played growing up was basketball. That started off as fun, just playing after school sessions and playing in the school basketball court, and just enjoying the game, and then that later moved on to, for myself, I went on to play a higher level of basketball, and I went on to coach. So it became more a part of my life. It was more about that competitive aspect and trying to excel at a sport and build up your kind of skill level and really work at it. And now what it's developed later on in life is to be more of a hobby, and to be more about socializing and again having fun. And there's a competitive aspect, but it's like we're playing for maybe more my well-being of like I say, the social aspect, so mental well-being, and the physical aspect of like fitness and running around and just the feel-good factor it gives you. So yeah, sports have been fundamental. Even just taking part in different sports that I don't really know that well or I'm not very good at, badminton, or even having a go at stuff. I didn't really play a lot of snooker or pool growing up, so I'm really bad at it, but it's a great kind of social setting. So sometimes I've just played it to kind of, be around people and just take part, basically. But yeah, other things like swimming, which can be solo, but then you can make them more social by, inviting a friend along, or, going to, these pools with certain activities like wave machines and making it more, again, you could take family members or whoever. Any kind of activity, even if that's walking, cycling, all things like that, I think they are fundamental. I think everyone should take part in an activity. If you can't be, or you're not that kind of active as a person, it can even be things like board games or going to social events like, I know it is a sport, but you're just playing it for fun, like bowling, or going to the arcades and having a go at the airsoft, any kind of things like that, shooting basketball in an arcade, on the games and stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be like a organized thing. It can just be for fun. Another fundamental for me in life, which has really, it literally has been the soundtrack to my life, is music. I don't even know if I can just talk normally after that, but yeah, that was Kano that I went to with my brother Declan, and yeah, we had a wicked time. Music for me has been so special and has been there all the time for me. It's been a constant. Since being a kid, you have certain tracks that take you back to certain times in your life. Going to live events, that has kind of created memories for me. And for me as well, I collected music and I still continue to collect music. So it has that kind of nostalgia and that feeling that it gives me of connection to something, of this art basically. Yeah, that is really special because you can just enjoy that whenever. You can be in the car, you can be walking with headphones, you can be at a social gathering. Yeah, it's always there. And I've even taken part in it. I've had my go at MC, and I remember back to my college days, probably despite getting the poor grades, one of my greatest things was actually going up on stage for a talent show with my friends and MCing. And it wasn't even that, it was just, doing that actual event. It was the whole rehearsals and coming up with the ideas, coming up with the rhymes as a collective. That was something that was such a good experience. It was so cool. And yeah, that's something I'll take away from college, even if it wasn't the grades that I wanted. Yeah, another thing that I did outside of kind of work and education and stuff like that growing up, I got a love for photography, and that was my kind of creative outlet. And I do think that's important as well, to have that, whether it's writing, whether it's photography, whatever, model building, whatever it is, painting. You should definitely take part in something that allows you to have an element of creativity, of taking part in something. And initially for me, what I enjoyed is I went on a photography course. It was like an adult course where it was just a private thing that a guy did from his house. He worked from home, and he'd teach you the basics of photography. And I think it was about 10 lessons or something. Again, that was great days out, practicing different techniques, learning the fundamentals of photography. That is a process in itself. Just learning is like a fun thing, and delving into something. You learn so much besides just the actual thing of doing the photographs and editing them and how to take a good shot. Some of it comes down to luck and opportunity. Some of it is just, if you just go out there and try and do something, something will come of it, be that good or bad, and you'll just learn from that either way. So yeah, photography was great. It got me out and about. It connected me with my friend's brother because he was doing music at the time, and I got to do a few album covers for him. Even one of my housemates that I was living with before, I got to do her sister's wedding. I've done my barber's wedding. I've done engagement shoots. I've just gone out in nature and took pictures of animals, which is great because it was combining that thing of getting outdoors and my love of taking pictures and that curiosity that I had for nature, for animals, for the world around us. It makes you look at the world around you and really take it in and look for the details and look for the nuances, or just things that you don't normally notice day to day, and actually capture them, and maybe try and capture them in an interesting way, or just for your own record to say that I've been there and done that. So that was really good. Another kind of more basic thing I would say, because it's like a thing for survival, is cooking. For me, cooking is like, it doesn't have to be like a masterclass. It's just that going out, getting the ingredients, preparing it, either following a recipe or doing a recipe that you already know off the top of your head, or experimenting even with different techniques in the kitchen. Then at the end of the day, generally you get a good meal out of it. It's much better than just whacking something in the oven. And from my experience, when you cook something, you enjoy it far more than something that was ready prepared or just heated up. You have that sense of achievement, you have that kind of engagement with your food, and it's a process, and it keeps you kind of at the time engaged in that activity. So for me, it helped clear my mind, and at the end of the day, enjoy a nice meal. And sometimes, again, it was like a social thing. Like I say, when I lived in a shared house, I would cook with my other housemates, and that was the communal area, the kitchen. So it was a time to engage and interact, but also be doing something. So that was nice. Maybe get tips off each other of how to prepare stuff, how to cut certain vegetable, how to combine certain spices and flavors, and what to actually cook. So that was really good. You get some tips along the way. So yeah, on the final kind of note, these fundamentals, they're nothing groundbreaking, they're nothing new to some people, but they've kept me engaged with life. They've kept me excited, open to new things, and have some fantastic experiences along the way. What they do for you is sometimes quite amazing, that they can kind of help you to understand yourself, to focus, and to just enjoy life. I hope they've given you some ideas of what you can do. And everyone has different things, you know what I mean? I'm sure there'll be a list. I'd love to see comments on what has helped other people in their life, what has been something that has been a constant in their life that has, kept them going through ups and downs and motivated them and just helped them to engage with life. So yeah, that's all I've got time for now on the human experience, and I'll see you next time.